G'day everybody, and welcome back to Ark Survival Evolved. We have a little bit of a new adventure to embark on, and I recorded all this amazing commentary for you, and we did some amazing adventures, and yeah, my mic was off. So anyway, I'm going to commentate this for you. We are joining the SKRP, the Seven Kingdoms roleplay server. It is set in the universe of the television series of Game of Thrones. It is a medieval roleplay with that setting. So there's a lot of interesting things about the server. For example, all of the large carnivores, gigas, rexes, and carnos do not spawn. They are disabled. So, and here I am making L. So carnivores don't spawn. So you don't have to worry about them. The only carnivores that you have to worry about really are only largish carnivore is the Allosaurus, and they're reasonably rare. So even though I do get killed by one more than once, and there's raptors, and I guess sarcos, but they're slow enough for you to run away from on 100 movement speed anyway. And as you can see, I left the A off the end of Elaara, so I've made up a little bit of a story. Now, here we are, we've logged into the server, and it's not heavily modded. There's only 13 mods on the server, and they are mostly related to medieval or that sort of thing. There is the castles and keeps, and in some later episodes we'll try and explore some of what they call the cities. They've built something called King's Landing, they've built something called Dawn, they've built Castle Black, they've built the Wall, they've built Winterfell, they've built what else? Casterly Rock, but I'm not sure what sort of reproduction they are. So we will get into that in a few more episodes. And here you can see generously people have built bridges across a few rivers. So we're brand new, level 1 here, and we haven't really done what I'm looking for. Essentially is a place to live. So we're going to do a little bit of exploring, and yeah, that one was a little bit derped out, I think, because yeah, derp. Now we all know one compy on their own, not a problem. If it's got friends, however, bad news bears. So we just leave him to his devices and keep running. And I apologise if you hear the cats. It is quite early in the morning, and they are all saying, we don't like what you've given us for breakfast. So they're all coming in. Well, they've eaten what I've given them for breakfast, and they've come to see if there's any more. So, so I have 2 Siamese cats and an Oriental cat on my lap. And yes, here's our first encounter with somebody's house. As you can see, they do have the eco mod, the eco trees. There is the eco decor. There's castles and keeps. There's the SKRP mod. They've actually modded it themselves because it includes pieces to build the wall, and I think there's one that's the Vale, which is a map extension rather than a mod. And yeah, well, there goes somebody. Hi somebody, bye somebody. And yeah, people use signs on this server, and I probably won't go. I've actually recorded a second episode already, so this may go up within a day of each other. They use signs to let people know if they're awake, if they're asleep, messages. There is also, they use containers as mailboxes. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about the SKRP server. It has several classes. It has a structured, like, political system to resemble Game of Thrones. So the classes that you have are hunter. Now, a hunter is a hunter. They go out, they get meat. There are specific items that each class can use. So hunters can use, they can craft fur armor, they can craft ghillie armor, and also the high quality bows. There go more people on horses. And as you can see, I am looking to see them. They can also craft chitin spears, crystal poison tipped arrows, but not the poison, bear traps and narcotic traps. And they also are entitled to have one companion animal, which is not to be saddled. And it basically is your friend, your companion, and you can role play, you know, sending it out to track things and stuff like that for you. And they have exclusive use of the longbow. The stable hand. Now, the stable hand is the only one who's allowed to tame your general purpose animals. So they're allowed to tame any tameable animal, any non-faction specific tames. Now, we'll get into that in a minute. Any breeding, if you want to breed your two animals, you need to get a stable hand to do it. And they can also own two of what they call the big four on the server, which is a bear, a Calicotherum, a Thylacoleo, and a Baryonyx. But yeah, they're allowed two because they can breed them, but they must either sell one of the parents or the offspring. They can't have more than two at a time. And they are limited to 10 animals of any kind, personal. If they work for a faction or a keep or whatever, they usually maintain everybody's animals in the area. So we'll deal with that in a... Oh, there goes that clock again. I can't do it. All right, a blacksmith. They are the one that make metal tools and weapons. Excuse me. Excuse me, sorry. They make flak armor and metal shields. They can make them though, but they can't use them. Chitin armor, grappling hooks, obsidian and crystal tools, which is the weapons and the shields, but not the arrows because that's the hunters. Saddles, they're the only ones that can make saddles. Chain bowlers, catapult, ballistas, handcuffs, bear traps. They can make them, they can't use them. Crossbows, tree sap taps, weapon station and weapons, tree platforms, lances, and all of the metal decorative items like suits of armor and things like that. A builder is obviously responsible for stone buildings and glass buildings, war drums, the medieval structures that use both stone and wood to create, irrigation pipes, water reservoirs, the windmill, and the castle mod, which they will build for somebody else. But the castle keep, they're actually buildable only if they're a member of a kingdom or a faction. So if you're a builder on your own, you cannot use them to build your own house. You can build them for other people though. the farmer and the cook, they can make cooking pots, self-made recipes, soups and stews, but not brews or mind wipes, food trays and the items in them, beer barrels and beer, tavern ownership, kibble, crop plots, eco trees mod, refertilizer, bees. Now, here we get into an interesting little bit. The bees, pheomias, dung beetles, dodos, sheep and oviraptors, farmers and cooks can tame for themselves. They can also breed them for themselves. Bug repellent, compost bins, they can do vegetable and crop growing, of course, stone irrigation, and they also may open one tavern or restaurant. And a farmer can have a total of 15 animals, 10 farm animals and 5 personal. The 5 personal animals must be tamed by a stable hand. So if you want a horse or a wolf, well, you can't have a wolf, but anyway, it has to be tamed by a stable hand. And this is my first encounter with a group of people, and I didn't want to get too close because they were involved in some RP and I didn't want to break it. But what I did was sort of get a little bit closer so that you could hear what was going on. And that was clearly successful, wasn't it? So here I am looking at the sign, and this keep is the Timberlands, which I'm sure you can read for yourself. All right, so back to our list of people. The next on our list is the thief. Now, the thief can make poisons, they can make kite and spears, they can make grapples, smoke bombs, and they can break into houses without prior reason. Now, and they can only break into 3 places per week. When a thief breaks in, they need to leave a note. It must contain at least 3 key points. It has to include the character description, so a clue about the character, a clue about where you're from, and also what was broken. And you're only allowed to break 5 storage items. So it makes sense on here to have more than 5 items for storage and to keep your valuables tucked away. Now, an example is the broken, you have to RP it. You can't just say thief from the west broke door. You can't. It needs to be RP'd. So, for example, the broken wooden door lays upon the floor. Wet black sand with footprints leads to multiple barrels and crates, which remain broken and the items missing. A piece of green fur remains caught on one of the broken barrels. The thief was careless. So that's an example of a note. This tells the owner of whatever was broken into that the thief wears green, because green fur. The thief lives somewhere near the Black Beach, and it also tells them what they broke. So thieves make things interesting. There is also a knight, squire, sellsword, for example, they can patrol, they can be a lord or a lady's personal guard, they can enforce kingdom rules. They also have the ability to repair tools, their weapons and their shield, and their armor. Now, they can only repair them if they're damaged. They can't repair them if they're broken. If they're broken, they need to go and see a blacksmith. They can arrest thieves. They are exclusively allowed to wear flak armor. They are also allowed to wear manticore armor, but they need to buy that from the bank, and we'll get into that in a little bit later. Now here, you can see with a lovely purple screen, because I'm starting to get thirsty, I'm actually standing on a rock in a pretty place telling you about Elaara's backstory. And basically, Elaara, this character of Elaara, her RP backstory is that she was born a bastard. Her mother was a prostitute in King's Landing, and her father was assumed to be a noble, and assumed because her mother was a regular, excuse me, Gally, people are rude. Well, sometimes. Stop pushing me off the rock. Good grief, did you see that? Because her mother was a regular companion to the previous king, when the new king decided to get rid of all of the old king's bastards and byblows, she sort of feared for her life and escaped King's Landing, went to live in the country, was set upon by thieves, was sent to, was sold into slavery, and eventually escaped back into Westeros. And because of all the she was a house slave, and in her wanderings she had learnt to cook a lot of exotic recipes, and she wants to just settle down in a quiet corner, raise chickens, and cook her lovely food. So in this little encounter, I encounter a chap called Delant, and I will link his Twitch channel in the description. Delant is a stable hand, and he works for the Timberlands, and he was delightful. He has a thick southern, he called it a hillbilly accent. He is a delightful chap, so sweet, and he was very, very kind, and didn't suspect me of being a thief or a wildling. Just was very pleasant. And we engaged in quite a nice conversation, which I wish I could share with you, but there you go. So, next on our list, you've dealt with the knight, is the maester. They can make antidotes. They can also make bug repellent, brews and stimulants, poisons. They can RP things like healing people, researching artifacts, etc. They're allowed to use the magnifying glass. They can make tonics. There is a maester's table, and they can make tonics from that. Blood bags and syringe kits. They can also identify bodies using implants. So if they find a dead body, it has to be RP'd out. It can't just be, oh, that's, you know, Bob Smith. They can also make mind wipes and broth of enlightenment. And yeah, the RP potions in the Maester's table look amazing, or at least the descriptions look amazing. Next is the Red Witch or Red Priest. They can also, they're very similar to the Maesters, except that they don't heal people, and they don't they don't minister to their flocks, and they don't advise. They're more, rather than, yeah, they tend to live on their own, or if they're in a keep, they tend to sort of keep to themselves. They can also retain half after how they died after conferring with the Lord of Light. Okay, so, and the final faction is the Wildlings. Wildlings have 4 subclasses: builder, stable hand, healer, and blacksmith. They are more PvP focused. They do a lot of RP. They do a lot of interaction with the Southerners. There is a giant sodding wall, just like there is in Game of Thrones. In some later episodes, I will take you to see it. But the wildlings can climb the wall by grappling up it. A lot of them try to sneak and hide in the south, so they're spying and things like that. So you know, there's a lot of RP options for them, and a lot of fun, and yeah, It's hilarious. Okay, so faction specific. This now I can tell you all of the different factions. Winterfell are the only ones that can own and ride dire wolves, and they're only allowed one per person unless they're a stable hand. There's also boats, and you're allowed up to 3, but they're causing a bit of problem on the server, so destroy them. If you're on this server and you have a boat that you're not using or a raft that you're not using, please go and destroy it. Casterly Rock is sabres, again, only one per person unless you're a stable hand. King's Landing, the house animal is up to the leader. If the leader persists, so do the animals. So if the leader wants to have the horse or the dimorph or whatever, it doesn't matter. Storm's End, stags, only one per person again. The Vale, they have a large mountaintop area. They have a moon door, which you can push people through. They have a cliffside prison, and terror birds are their mount of choice. Dawn is thorny dragons. The Night Watch is neutral to all factions south of the wall. They are hostile to wildlings. They have exclusive use of the Night's Watch cloak. They also have exclusive use of apes, the Gigantopithecus. And if somebody is sent to the wall, you must stay there for a week. That's a week worth, I believe, of in-game days, which are quite long. And the nights are quite long, let me tell you. The Iron Islands. Obviously, ships. They have a galleon for the High King. Now, Iron Islanders can steal, but only if they're a raiding party. And raiding parties need to be 4 or more. They can destroy leftover boats and clutters and are allowed to RP raiding coastal areas. And they also need to make sure that they leave details about having raided them and stuff like that, so leaving notes and stuff. The wildlings are hostile to all. Neutral hostile situations beyond the wall, so meaning that they can pretend to be somebody else. They can pretend not to be wildlings. They can pretend to be travelers or whatever, but they can't just say, oh hey, I'm a wildling, because basically wildlings can be hunted and killed. They have the exclusive use of the mammoth as their mount, and they are allowed to ride any animal that spawns north of the wall and smaller than a Cali. So rhinos are out, but they can ride a Calicotherum. And if you've chosen to be a wildling, which you must do before you join the server, you must spawn north of the wall. And White Walkers. Now, those of you who are Game of Thrones fans, White Walkers are not a faction you can choose before you join. They are something that you become if you get killed by a White Walker or the White King. And yes, we have a White King. So that is the specific faction rules or specific faction animals. Now, dinos that have been removed, untamable and removed, there's a bunch of them, including flyers. And for the big ones, you can only buy their saddles from the bear, the thyla, the calico, the baryonyx, and the iguanodon. You can only buy saddles from the bank. You can't craft them. So this is pretty much where I leave it for you after you've listened to me talking for 25 minutes. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you have a great day.